Hello and welcome to the second video in this Create Your First Website video series. My name's David Thorne, and in the past video, we then created our basic index.html file. We added the style sheet, added the jQuery, added app.js file, and briefly skipped over what it all meant. So in this video, we're going to go through basically these points here. Explain the HTML, the HTML tags which we used, the HTML, the head, title, body, link, script, and H1. Where do we see these? We saw these then here. The HTML tag, the head tag, body tag, title tag, link, script, H1. Okay. I'm going to explain these tags and what they basically do inside of this one file. All right. Now, an index.html file, right, with the extension of .html, is telling the browser what file type this is, and how it just knows when it has a .html file that it's got to render the HTML with inside of this one file appropriately in the browser. Now, when it gets then a .css file, it knows that the content type of this needs to be passed in order to then display the relevant styling of the HTML page. And once again, with .js, it's a JavaScript file, and then the browser needs to interpret it another way. So initially, by saying index.html, you're already giving a heads up to the browser of what file type this is and what the contents of the file has. Now, in an HTML file, we then write HTML. Okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to completely ignore doc type for the time being. An HTML page starts and ends essentially with an HTML tag, okay, as we've got here. And the HTML tag has two child tags. It has a head and it has a body. The head comes at, well, there is another one, but for the time being, we're just going to stick with these: the head and the body. All right, and within inside of the head is all browser information. Okay, inside of the body is what is going to be displayed on your website. So when the browser loads your index.html file, it will look at the head section first and say, hey, I've got to load lots and lots of files. I've got lots and lots of work and configuration settings of how the browser should be, first of all, or the browser should handle the body information. Okay, and once all of the files have been loaded, everything has been completed with inside of the head tag, and the browser is 100% certain that everything is finished, then it will then load the body tag and all of its subchilds as well. And once it's got all of this together, that's when the rendering starts. The rendering means that it'll try to build a visual view of your of how you've used the HTML tags with inside of your body, and also the style sheets, and then the JavaScript that you've used, and any other things that you've done with it. So it is a sequential flow of tasks that are happening. All right, load the file, load all the files inside of the head tag, and then load the body, and then render it together, ready to be displayed on the browser, in the browser. So the head tag contains all browser settings. I'm using this very loosely, browser settings here at the moment. You know, what's the title should be displayed on the browser, on the tab, and also all other files that you need. Now, in this website so far, we've said to the browser, hey, load this layout.css file and load this app.js file and load this external jQuery file. Now, it knows that it's external because it sees that it's got an HTTPS, or it has an HTTP protocol to say, hey, you're going to have to go off and fetch this from somewhere else. Now, because our app.js and our layout.css just have a / there, that is relative to the directory of where then the index.html file is. So we're telling the browser, hey, this one file is inside of this folder. Have a look in here. All right, you don't need to go off externally to find it. So the browser's going to load both of these files into memory, okay, and it's going to pass the different files in its own manner relative to which file extension it has. .css, .js, and so on. And once it's downloaded the jQuery file, it will then add this into memory ready to be used. And it will execute all of these files one by one, right? And once it's executed all of these files one by one, and they've all finished, and it's then got to the head tag, the last head tag, that's when it will then start to load the body. All right, so it seems like I've gone in depth into this, right? But you've got to understand that if you've got to understand that there's a few stages of how this works. All right, to know that your files have been loaded, ready to be used. But we'll just leave it at like a quick 2-minute explanation of how it's done, because otherwise it's too much. Okay, so now let's change our let's change our title. Okay, create first website, and anything you put within inside of this title tag, and once it's saved, and when we come over to our website, we see that it has, you can't see it actually, but it has a title of Create First Websites. You're just going to have to trust me here. It says Create First Websites. And so when you open a tag, you have to make sure you close the tag. This is the whole deal with HTML, all right? How does it know what the title is? Well, there's a ruling with HTML. If you open a tag, you close a tag. If you put any tag in between that tag, it's got to be closed. Now, the title tag is only permitted to be declared once, and it can just contain basically just text. It can't contain any any child elements. You can just display some text in there, all right? But the ruling is for HTML is if you open a tag, you close a tag. So get into the habit of when you write your HTML that you open the tag and you close the tag. Now, Visual Studio Code, it just does it for you straight away, so you don't forget it. You open a tag and you close a tag. All right. The body, you open body in this one. You open a tag, you close a tag. You open a tag, you close the tag. You open a tag, you close the tag. And I'm repeating this over and over again. So every single time you open a tag, you close the tag, all right? And you don't put any content in it until you've closed your tag. I can promise you that when you've got a 500 lines of HTML and it doesn't all fit right, it will be because you haven't closed the tag. Now, IDEs today are very, very clever in able to work this out for you, and many browsers will close the tag for you as well if you forget it. But this can also cause huge amounts of problems if you've forgotten to close a tag in one place, and then it stops your CSS from working correctly, because these are things you're going to have to find out by yourself. But just take it right now. If you open a tag, close a tag straight away, and then put your content in between it. And I'm going to going to do it again. All right, open a tag, close a tag, and then put your cursor between the tag again and do your work. Don't do open tag, do the content, and then close the tag. You'll forget. All right, is open a tag, close a tag, put your content, and open a tag, close a tag, put your content. All the time, follow the same procedure. Don't get lazy on it. And HTML tags, they can then have attributes as well, which are these attributes. So the href and the rel are attributes of the link tag. And not all tags have attributes that you can provide to them, but there's a few attributes that all tags have. And in this scenario, if you open a tag, close the tag, and then go back and then do your attributes after that. In this scenario, one of the attributes that all tags have is an ID. Okay, and all HTML tags also have a class as well. There are other tags that have attributes, but we're going to leave that as how it is. Okay, so we've been through the head. The body is always what content is going to be displayed in your website. All right, so if you place any content here, this is just not going to work. All right, your content must go within inside of the body, right? Yeah, it's just a rule. Put your content within inside of the body. Okay, don't do it any other way. If you don't supply in your HTML file, if you don't supply any HTML tag whatsoever, like we've just done here, and then you say hello world like this, then the browser will add a body tag for you, and it will add an HTML tag for you as well. So it will infer that you wanted it to be inside of an HTML, in a default HTML tag, and so on. But if you're wanting to do it correctly and do it properly, and you want to make use of loading script files and CSS files, then you need to do it this way. Okay, there are rules in writing HTML. Okay, so all of your content that you want to display in your website should go within inside of the body tag itself. All right, and yeah, so that's essentially it. The link tag will load then your CSS for what you want. I think we'll leave it there for this one video. Otherwise, it gets a little bit too long on this, and then we'll start going through how we can start listening to then when the browser, because I said the body would then start to be loaded, all right, once then everything is ready. Okay, and we can listen for this event, all right, once everything is ready to go, and that is what we're going to do with jQuery. Okay, so we'll try and use a little bit JavaScript now. You're going to have to learn some form of JavaScript, in my opinion, if you want to be able to create your first basic website. So it's, you've got to learn a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of CSS, a little bit of HTML, and possibly a little bit of PHP if you want to build your first website. All right, I'm going to leave the video here. Otherwise, I'll ramble a little bit too much. All right, bye-bye.